Hey girl, hey, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Misha. Thank you guys for joining me yet again for another review. Normally I give y'all this whole drawn out thing and I'll let y'all subscribe to the channel, child. Let's get into it, y'all. Alright, so tonight we are talking about Married at First Sight like we usually do when we gather around this time. Tonight, honey, Chris ain't proved to me no different. It's like I don't know what I'm even watching at this point or who I'm even watching. Alright, let's talk about it. So when the episode first opens up, we see them going in reverse. So we see Chris, he's in like this little area with the producers and they're like, you know, you have to tell her. He's like, well, I don't want to tell her. And they're like, well, you have to tell her. And they're like, she's your wife. Boy, oh my God. I know I said I wanted to get to the foolishness in the first 5 minutes of the episode, but honey, don't drain me like that as soon as I turn the channel, honey. Don't drain me like that. And to see your big goofy self stand there and act like you're not going to tell this girl like she's not going to see it on national TV, boy, you are a real idiot. Anyway, so then we reverse and now we're going forward. Now it's 2 hours earlier. Okay. So when we reverse and now it's 2 hours earlier, you know, now we see Clara and Ryan. So Clara and Ryan are having a bit of a conversation, honey. You know, they like to bore me. I don't even know what they talking about at this point, honey, because I just want them to get back to this baby that we all knew was going to be revealed on this show, but we had to wait until Lifetime actually let us in on it. Because, see, I was going to say something long time ago, but I don't want nobody coming to me with no cease and desist because I decided to talk about the Subway King, okay? So I had to wait for it. So now we got to talk about Clara and Ryan. Okay, Clara and Ryan were talking about going to see the dolphins. They're very excited about that. Then they start to talk about their future. So Ryan was saying, you know, he's a more predictable guy and his parents are the same way. They watch TV, you know, sit on the couch, eat chicken and bonbons or whatever they eat and do the same thing over and over day in and day out. Clara was like, at first she was like, well, my parents are sort of like that too. Then I guess all of a sudden it clicked to her when Ryan was like, we're probably going to be like that when we're 90. And Clara was like, no, we're not. She was like, no, I don't like things that are routine. That's the reason why I'm a flight attendant. And she was like, with me being a flight attendant, my life will never be routine. I may pop in and out and then, you know, you can be routine. You can keep your routine, but I'm just going to pop in and out whenever I feel like it. And I'm like, okay, see, girl, now you're going to have to do some kind of compromising. Quite frankly, I feel like they are in the friend zone. I know they've only been married for 3 days, but I don't get married from them. I don't get the zhuzh I'm supposed to get. They're not giving what they're supposed to be giving as far as a relationship. So whenever I see these two together in the scene, they give me absolutely nothing. So quite frankly, I feel like Clara should have been matched with Eric. But the more I see Eric and Virginia together, aka Snooki, I feel like, you know what, they did a good job over there because he's going to tame Virginia and bring her on down a notch. Then we move over to Eric and Virginia, aka Snooki. He asked her, you know, what she's doing because she was putting her makeup on and everything. And she's like, oh, I'm getting ready. He's like, we're going to the pool. And I'm like, she's a girl, honey. Everybody don't want to walk around like Paige, barefaced and confused, looking and roaming up and down hallways with a robe on, honey. She's trying to gather herself so that she can look like something when y'all get ready to go out. Go sit down, Eric. Go sit down and wait till she gets ready, okay? So then they're talking about how, you know, how they're eating. And then they're talking about how they are as a couple compared to the other couples. And basically the Lakes are the best. That's what they summed it up. That's the way they summed it up. So then he starts talking about Paige and Chris and how Paige is working so hard to be with Chris, but it doesn't look like the feeling is mutual. Everybody can see it. I do not know why Paige is working so hard to make this happen. Girl, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not happening. God, even Virginia can see that, and she's been in a drunken stupor for the past 3 days. Girl, what is wrong with you? Oh, child. Okay. Then we go over to Chris and Paige, honey. They awkwardly eating breakfast. It's an awkward silence between the two. He just stabbing those eggs with that fork, not saying nothing. And she looking at him like, please talk to me. Girl, okay, child. She still think it's a chance, child. She trying to make small talk. How are you feeling? He's like, oh, it's an adjustment. It is an adjustment to wake up and look at that face every day. It is quite an adjustment. It's an adjustment for me every Wednesday night when I have to get my vision together to look at you looking a fool and acting a fool every Wednesday night. We are on the same page. It is an adjustment. So then she asked, well, what's going on? And he said, I found out some info this morning. And she was like, oh, okay, well, what info was it? Some disturbing information. And she's like, okay, well, what is it? And he's like, it doesn't even matter. She's like, I'm lost. And then he's like, it doesn't even matter. So then she starts sitting there looking crazy. And he's like, what's wrong? I do not understand why this boy always asks this girl questions as if he has not just slapped her in the face with some nonsense 2 seconds earlier. Every time he does something stupid, he starts asking questions. Last episode, he disappeared for 40 days and 40 nights. Came back, I had a panic attack. So what's up? Boy, what are you talking about? Now today, you basically tell the girl, this is my business. Don't worry about what's wrong with me, even though I'm the one that brought it up when you asked. Don't ask me no questions. And then turns around and says, what's wrong? What? And then she said, well, why don't you want to share? He said, I'm good. I'm good with not telling you. She's like, well, that's problematic for me. Honey, oh my God. From the word go, from him saying, when they said, you can now kiss your bride, then that should have been problematic for you, honey. That wig prior should have been problematic. Everything about the two of you is problematic. So him not wanting to share whatever this is problematic. Okay. So then he says, she said, you don't keep secrets from your wife. You need to tell me what's going on. I am your wife. And then she gets up and walks away. So the producers call him in and they're like, what was that? And he said, I don't want to tell her. And I'm thinking, well, why even bring it up? When she asked what's wrong, you could have just said, nothing, everything's fine. I mean, because we know you like to lie. Because like I told y'all last review, he was down in that lobby calling that ex. And then today on this review, he gonna try to act like, on this episode, he's trying to act like he just announced to this ex that he was married to that girl. Child, please, while you was down there with that fake panic attack, you was texting her the whole time. She lying, you lying. And quite frankly, I think y'all in cahoots because that subway done closed all the way down. So y'all need a little change for that baby that's coming. So what I think y'all have done is said, you know what? I know I'm pregnant, but go ahead and go on the show. Okay. Allegedly, in my opinion. Okay. I just want to make sure I state that because I don't want no mess, Chris. Don't play with me. So I think what y'all did is you and that ex said, okay, we're going to go ahead and go along with this, even though I know that me and you are still together. Go ahead and get married. That's why he losing his mind every 2 seconds, child. That's just my opinion. That's what I really feel. I feel like him and that ex are in on it together. It's a plot and a scheme that they came up with to come at us with the bullshit. Okay. And if you watch Real Housewives of Atlanta, you know where I got that from. Anyway, child, let's carry on. So then he's like, I don't want to tell her. So Paige goes to a producer, finally, like I suggested in the previous review, as she should. And she's like, tell me what's going on. And then so she's like, this is way too much. This is just way too much for me. And the producer says, well, I can't tell you. I can't tell you what's going on. And then the producer asks Chris, well, what if she wants to end the marriage? He said, oh, well. Oh, my God. Okay. Chris, you don't even look like you brush your teeth in the morning. Okay. And then the fact that you will have the audacity to say, oh, well, child, just let the girl go. You can make the decision. It doesn't have to be on her. If you want to go on, escape back off into the sunset and rub your pregnant girlfriend's feet or fiance or whatever y'all are doing, then go ahead and do that. But stop dragging Paige through episode after episode after episode. It gets tiring to watch. So now we're back over to Brianna and Vincent. And they're laying there cuddling. And, Vincent's talking about how his grandmother is fine. She's doing well. It was kind of like a false alarm. She is, she did have some problems, but things are getting better. They're on the up and up. And then he shares like what they do on a daily basis, how they go for walks, how they do things together. And Bree knows, he lets Bree know that the fact that she had his back was everything to him. So, they're eating breakfast and, she starts talking to him about where they're going to live. And she said, would you want a regular home, a high rise, or a condo? And then he says, I probably would want a condo. And then he says, well, I want a high rise. And he was like, oh, okay. Well, she was like, well, I want a high rise. And then he said, oh, okay. Well, you're the boss. They did say you were bossy. And I'm like, okay, Bree, now don't ruin this, honey. Okay. Because things are chugging along rather nicely. We don't want to ruin it by being too bossy. And so he was like, well, if you keep treating me like that, you can be bossy all you want to. Don't start spitting out untruths, Vincent, because this is the thing. Her family has already told her that you have quite a temper. So I know when this little honeymoon bubble bursts and you guys have known each other for longer than 72 hours, you are not going to want to be bossed around, especially if you are an alpha male. So just tell her like it is and quit playing, because Bree over there skinning and grinning. And quite frankly, when you put your foot down, she's going to be appalled. I'm just telling you straight up from an alpha female myself, honey. We just push you over, and you just a push over, and we run all over you. And then the minute you pipe up, we be like, what? Oh no, it's over. We're done. I know he didn't just pipe up, honey. So then she says she wants to have kids, but it's kind of weird to just sit down and talk about having kids with someone that you just met. And at first I agreed with her until I found out what I found out later on in the episode. Because I'm like, girl, Bree, okay, don't get crazy. So Paige still roaming the hall in that robe, child, looking for Chris up and down the highway, honey. It's something about hotels and Chris and Paige. They don't go well together. The two of them and the way she be roaming around, always looking for him, always trying to find him, honey, it's uncomfortable. So Chris is up there smirking, and she said, do you feel comfortable talking to everyone else but your wife? And he just still looking. And she was like, well, how bad is it? And then Chris says, you want to talk about it? Yeah, I want to talk about it. I've been trying to talk to you about it for the last 15 minutes. I think Chris is slow, because I was looking at him and he looked touched. But I didn't want to say that because I don't like to just put labels on people. But you look touched and you act touched. Of course she wants to talk about it, crazy. That's why she's roaming up and down the hallway in this robe. And girl, where are your clothes? God, please don't hint to us that you done gave that boy your cookies again as soon as y'all landed that plane. Oh my God. They go to talk in the restroom. He starts turning on the tub, the shower, he starts putting his phone on to play music. Then he whispers to her to take her mic off. And I was like, why is he doing that? Like, we're not going to be able to see what's going on. And so of course she obliges. And then he tells her, basically drops the bomb on her that his ex-fiance / fiance present tense is pregnant. So then he comes out, not even in there comforting her or saying, is there anything you want to ask me about it? I'm an open book. Feel free to ask whatever you want. No, not him. He just come traipsing out like ain't nothing going on. So the producers say, have you told her? No. They were in there taking a shower together and he came out fully clothed 2 seconds later. Of course he just told her. So then they were like, well, where's Paige? She's having a moment. Oh my God. Just repeating the dialogue, I sound crazy to myself, honey. I feel like I'm a fool just for repeating exactly what was said. So after she comes out, she says, I don't know what to do, and then just leaves. So I'm like, okay, go ahead and gather yourself. She puts on regular clothing, thank God, and she was looking cute. Girl, you looked good, okay? And she puts on her regular clothing, and then she roams on out of there. So now we go back over to Haley and Jacob. Haley and Jacob sit down to eat lunch. And then Jacob, she was like, well, did you like the lunch choices that I chose? I chose fish. And he's looking at her like, where are the steak and eggs, honey? I told you I am Dr. Seuss. I eat green eggs and ham. I told you that I don't want regular food. I only eat steak and eggs. So instead of Jacob... Jacob crazy, honey. And he's starting to be more endearing each episode. It's something really wrong with him. Instead of him saying what he felt, he was like, I like these onions. I mean, what if I just ate this onion whole? And she's like, oh, a whole onion? This boy bites into that onion like an apple. I'm like, oh gosh, poor Jacob. So then they started asking, and I'm thinking to myself, you done bit into that onion like that. That's why you have to beg for kisses. And I noticed I ain't seen you in the restroom brushing your teeth and or taking no shower. So, okay, child. So then they started talking about what the friends, have they been talking to any friends or anybody back home? And she's like, yeah, I told my friends that there are no red flags, nothing to be concerned about, which I really don't feel. I feel like Jacob is just really a nice guy and he's just quirky. He has his qualms about him, but as long as you can go with his craziness and his kooky ways, I think you'll be able to get along fine with him. So then Jacob's friends were like, he got lucky and she seems like a good one. Yes, because they were trying to find somebody that would accept you for all your, your little things that you like to do and the way that you actually are. And so the only option you had was to get put together, blindly. Somebody had to do a blind date and or a blind marriage for us to marry you off. So honey, you got lucky. So then they start talking about Star Wars. And then Jacob says he's trying to gauge how much Haley likes him. I don't think you're going to be able to do that because I feel like Haley is not giving a lot. I mean, she says things, but she's kind of hard to read. So I don't know if you're really going to get that from her. But y'all don't be playing no games and stop eating them onions, honey. Okay, don't do that no more. Then we go back to Ryan and Clara. So they're going to meet and greet the Dolphins. I'm like, okay. Oh, child. That scene was so boring, honey. It wasn't popping, but I'm going to give y'all a little something. Clara says she wants a man that can keep up with her. A man that can go and see dolphins with her, honey. It's not like you were going jet skiing and then you got on a yacht and then y'all were popping bottles with Diddy. Y'all went to go and see the dolphins. Girl, goodbye. So then they start talking about kids. And Ryan asked, about names. Has she chosen any names? So she said her name, and I can't remember what it was because I really kind of check out when Clara is talking. But then Ryan says Elton. And as soon as I was thinking in my mind, not Elton John, honey, Clara goes, oh, well, maybe we can call him Elton John Oubre. And I'm like, okay, girl, honey, you took my little joke, but you didn't really quite deliver it right. So Ryan is like, oh, that's funny. But then he's looking at her like, that ain't funny, girl, because that's one of my family members' names. And then he says he wants 3 kids. And I'm like, okay, well, y'all got to kind of do it before you get 3 kids. Like, you have to actually lay down with each other. You in them full ensembles, you're going to have to take like a layer of it off. If you need a coach, talk to Jacob. He'll tell you how to get naked before you get in the bed, honey. So after that, he asked her, what did you learn from your parents? And Clara said, well, I learned to let them try whatever they want to try. Okay, whatever they are into, I want them to try it. And then Clara asked about raising kids in church. And I think this is going to be a point of contention for the two, because he was like, yeah, I definitely want to raise them on a foundation that is based around faith. And then he said, what about you? And she's like, no, because it was forced on me and I don't want them to feel like it's forced. I want them to make their own choices. Paige goes to visit Bree because, honey, she got to talk to another sister and let them know. And Bree was the perfect person to go and talk to. Paige goes and she talks to Bree, and then she tells her about the bomb that got dropped on her. Vincent goes over to see Chris. Chris tells Vincent that his ex-fiance is pregnant. And then Vincent was like, asking the questions like, how is Paige taking it? And then Bree was asking Paige, if she's okay. She's like, no. And so then she was like, well, how far along is she? And then Paige said, well, she's 6 weeks. And Bree was sitting here like, that timeline ain't timelining. Because if he broke up with her months ago, how is she 6 weeks pregnant? I'm not understanding what's going on. So Vince asked if she was being honest. Now listen to this. Vincent had already asked Chris if the ex-fiance / current fiance, because they ain't fooling me, honey. Now I don't know what y'all think. Y'all can tell me down in the comments, but I do not feel like that's an ex. I feel like that's a present relationship, but they just playing us, honey. So then Vince asked if she's being honest, and he was like, yeah. And I'm like, you're so happy this girl pregnant, honey. That was your way to get back with this girl so you can go there and try to convince her, if y'all not together, so you could try to convince her that y'all should raise this child as a family. So, honey, you so excited, trying to act like you're so thrown off and you're just in this bubble of confusion. No, you're happy and you know it. Clap your hands, okay? So then Vincent said if he was Paige, he would be pissed. Paige is over there talking to Bree, and she's like, well, the chemistry was off from the first beginning. Yes, and you have tried everything from sleeping to him to chasing him up and down the hallway to get him to see you. All this, pick me, pick me. Stop doing that. Honey, stand 10 toes down and be like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and bow out. Because right now, you're trying to play me for a fool. You got me looking crazy in these reality TV streets, honey. Like, what is going on? I don't want to be attached to this foolishness any longer. I'm done. That's what you should have done. So then Paige is still saying, well, I don't know. I'm just so confused. I don't know what I'm going to do. What? Just do what you know is right and leave the boy alone. I'm like, okay, child. Paige feels like she could go back, but she just feels like, God wouldn't put more on her than she can bear. Paige, listen to me. God is the bringer of good things. All things good flow through God. He would not bring you Chris and an ex-girlfriend and an ex-fiance and a baby and a this and a that, and there's no attraction. And I want to touch on this because, I have been giving Chris a hard time about not liking Paige and her wig, but this is just real life. And when we see people, we do want to have a physical attraction to them. That's not wrong for him to not be physically attracted to her. It's the way that he goes about it. He's such a jerk, and his delivery is so crass that it's like he's so unlikable that for him to say, well, I don't really find her attractive, that makes people mad, okay? That makes them mad. It's just the way that you say it. So then he up there telling Vince, well, I want to work through it. Cap, honey, you do not want to work through nothing. That's all lies. All lies. So then Bree was asking Paige if they could stay together, and Paige said she doesn't want to run at the first sign of trouble. Honey, this is not the first sign of trouble. Trouble was when you asked him about a Yorkie and he said his ex had a Yorkie. Trouble was when you seen that tattoo and it was his ex's name written upside down with an X through it. Trouble is when this boy had smashed you twice and told you that he was unattracted to you. Trouble is when he told you that this girl was pregnant, honey. This is not the first sign. You can go now, honey. Go ahead and clock out for me. Like, you can go. Like, girl, what is wrong with you, girl? Oh, my God. Oh, okay. So Bree's sitting there, honey. She, quite frankly, she want to roll her eyes so bad because she looking like, no. And Bree let her know, you need to think about you. I know you're thinking about him and the situation and trying to stay married, but you need to go. And you need to think about Paige and think about what makes you happy. And I'm with her on that, honey. Goodbye. So now we see Brienne Vincent. They're basically talking about the mess that Paige and Chris are going through. So we don't really have to say too much about that. And then Bree was like, yeah, that's crazy to stay together. But Vincent is trying to be objective about the situation, talking about, well, if he really wants her, he has to fight for it. And Bree was looking at him upside his head like, try me if you want to. Okay? Okay, big boy, honey, this ain't what you want. Play in my face if you want to. I ain't Paige. Ain't gonna be no hemming and hawing, honey. You will be looking for me in the daytime with a flashlight. All right. So then we see Virginia and Eric. Once again, Virginia's looking for the bar child. She trying to find somewhere to get her drink on. And she wants to take a shot. And he said it's okay per her request. And so they take a shot. So Eric takes this little communion sip because, honey, he don't want to get loose. But his family lied last episode like he get loose knowing he don't. So she starts talking about age. And then Eric says she fits into his circle. And he's like, you're everything I need. You fit into my circle. All the pieces fit. Eric, I ain't never seen a circle puzzle. What you mean? Is she a puzzle or is she a circle? Like, I'm trying to figure out, you're making these analogies. Ain't making no sense, child. But anyway, Virginia says as long as they talk about things and they'll be fine. And then she starts to say that she has never lived with a guy, but she has lived with a roommate before. Eric starts to show his jealous side at this moment. So he's basically letting her know that he has a healthy jealousy, but not a snapped type jealousy. Like, they're not going to be on the first 48. But at the same time, don't play in his face. It's basically what he's saying. So, he's letting her know that there can't be platonic relationships between a man and a woman unless he's either gay or he's in a relationship with one of your friends or someone you know. Eric, that philosophy is stupid. You can have platonic friendships. You can do that. There is a such thing as that. And they don't have to be gay, and they don't have to be in a relationship with your friend or someone you know, because quiet as it's kept, even if they're in a relationship with, I've had friends that have been in relationships and still got cheated on. That doesn't matter. So those two things, honey, you tried it. Anyway, so Virginia's starting to see the little jealousy pop out, and she's not really liking it too much. Now we go back over to Clara and Ryan. They're having dinner together. Clara says, this doesn't feel like we're married. Basically, Clara is saying, why haven't you slept with me? I'm trying to figure out what is going on. So, and then she starts doing this little robot move. I'm like, okay, girl. And so they sit down, and Ryan was like, well, what will I expect when I go to your home? And she's like, that I'm messy. I'm like, I told y'all when I seen that suitcase. I'm like, Clara, we're going to have to get you some of those little dividers or something because we need to get your cleanliness together. So then he said that something that you would see at his house is that he doesn't like to fold clothes. And she was like, okay, cool. You can run them through the wash and I'll fold them. And then she says that she knew that he was the one for her when he didn't get on to her about her suitcase. Well, he didn't have to, honey. I told him through my review. The suitcase was a mess. And I'm sure he was thinking the same thing, but he wanted you to shut the hell up, so he didn't say nothing about it. Now we're back over to Brienne Vincent. Vincent is laying on the charm, honey. And he says that he's thoroughly enjoying Brie and that she has exceeded his expectations. So then Brie was like, he's doing everything he needs to do. He's exceeding my expectations as a husband. Girl, it's been 72 hours, honey. Please give it a little bit more time before you make your final analysis. Okay, so they both believe that, with communication that things will work. And then they say that they got it popping last night. And I'm like, I knew y'all was going to do it, honey. And then Vincent said the sex was very organic. They both had a connection. So the feeling was mutual, especially when she was supportive of him leaving to go and be with his grandmother. That really turned him on. He was ready to get it popping. Okay, job well done, Brie. Now we're back over to Haley and Jacob. They go to dinner at this Shark Tank. They come in wearing these psychedelic, straight out of the 80s shades. I guess she's starting to warm up a little bit to his quirky ways. They sit down. Of course, he tells his Jacob joke of the day. Honey, he can, look, Jacob, if you hear this and you start a thing that's called Jacob joke of the day, I want my credit. So then he asks her, how many holes does a straw have? And she's like, 2 or 1, I don't know, 3. Girl, ain't no straw got no 3 holes in it. You wouldn't be able to drink out of it. Girl, what is wrong with you, Haley? So then he starts saying something about his butthole and his mouth or something. Child, I was so completely lost. But basically, it all equaled out to 2. I was like, Jacob, honey, you could have kept that, honey. You do that every episode. Don't do that no more. So then she asked what his favorite car is. He said a DeLorean. Immediately when he said it, I was like, not Back to the Future. He really does love the 80s. She's like, what is a DeLorean? I'm like, okay, girl. Now, everybody know what that is, honey, whether you like the 80s or not. Now, we're back over to Paige and Chris. Paige says she's checked out because Chris has too many issues. So, he sits down with her, okay, and they're at dinner at this point. And I was just looking at this. Now, all the other couples have this well thought out date. Chris and Paige sitting in the middle of a restaurant. Boy, you couldn't have even pulled a dinner together for her after the way you've treated her for the past 2 days. So then they sit down. Here he comes with the stupid questions again. What's on your mind? So I guess she was like, nah, we're not going to do the dumb questions, okay? We're not going to do 21 questions over here. She said, no, I would like for you to express yourself first. He says, I already said everything. She was like, well, when was the last time that y'all had, relations? And he said, well, I went to her grandfather's funeral, and then I guess she was so distraught she fell on his penis. That's basically what I got from that. And I'm like, okay, child. But basically, he tried to put it off on her saying, the ball is in your court. So I'm just still trying to figure everything out. So, I mean, I'm going to try to fight for you. But if you want to leave, I understand. Basically, he's telling you, please leave, so I don't have to look like the bad guy. But not Paige, honey. She don't take, baby, read the room, honey. She don't know what to do. So she's still standing there, sitting there looking crazy. So then he said, what would you say if today was judgment day or decision day? Because, baby, judgment day, honey, Chris, you're going to have to answer to G.O.D. I'm just letting you know. So she said, I will walk away. Then Chris was like, I'm emotionally drained. And then he finally starts telling her what she needs to know. She says she doesn't like to waste time or have her time wasted. I'm like, okay, now there you go, Paige. Now we're cooking with gas, honey. So then she was like, I don't like to have my time wasted. I don't like to waste other people's time. So then she said, well, do you still find yourself attracted to her, or do you feel like you want to get back with her? Instead of him answering the question, he goes in a roundabout way and says, well, it doesn't even really matter because you're my wife. You're my queen. You come before everybody. You even come before my kid. Boy, please, with the Instagram, you done read the Instagram quote of the day. And now you just saying stuff that you think somebody want to hear, honey. To my love is a choice, not a feeling. Honey, I saw that last week on Instagram. Child, you ain't got not an original thought in that big broccoli head of hair of yours. You don't have anything in that brain that you could have pulled out at that moment. Oh, idiot. So anyway, so he's saying now, laying on the charm, and then he starts to tell her she's becoming more attractive. Well, thank you, sir. I'm so happy I'm becoming more attractive. Boy, nobody want to hear that, and you just done told this girl that you and this ex-fiance/fiance that you still with are having a baby? Oh, my goodness. He starts saying, you're amazing. You're sweet. I'm like, oh, okay. The experts made the right choice when they put us together. And then he asked her about being a stepmom. Sir, let her process the fact that you even have a baby on the way before you start asking about her being a stepmom. But she's so slow. She starts saying, well, I was in a relationship and I was someone's stepmom. And, he put the baby before me because y'all were boyfriend and girlfriend. Honey, girl, ain't nobody gonna put their kids underneath you and y'all just a boyfriend and girlfriend type situation. Oh, Paige, honey, wake up, child. So then she said she would never have. So then she said, I bet you don't even know my middle name. And he said something like Paige Stupid Williams, honey, because stupid should be her middle name. And then she was like, oh, stupid, I'm so happy that you knew my middle name because I always said I wouldn't have sex with a man unless he knew my middle name. Paige, stop saying anything, honey. You already gave him your cookies 48 hours ago, honey. You wasn't even at the wedding dress good before y'all had sex. So you didn't care nothing about that middle name. You're just trying to sound impressive, honey. Be quiet. Now we back over to Eric and Virginia. They having dinner. They ain't talking about nothing, child. We could skip right on over them. Of course, Eric started talking about his work schedule and how old he is. Honey, you are not 49 years older than her. You're 34. She's 26. It's okay. You could have almost been in school together. It's fine. Oh, child. So then all the couples meet up. They all sitting down, but Virginia and Eric are not there, honey. And they came at the right time because they ended the episode the way it should have been ended. They're all talking. Vincent and Bree saying each other perfect, looking into each other's eyes, heart emojis. Haley said, we're good. Instead of talking about her relationship with Jacob, she starts to say, our families get along. Then Jacob looking at her like, okay. Ryan says they're connected, and Clara talks about how he gave her a playlist and that she's given a playlist to every dude that she's ever dated. So she felt like that there were some serendipity moments between the two of them. Yeah, okay. So then they asked Chris and Paige. And Paige was like, well, we've had some challenges. And she starts giving this whole pageant answer. I checked out when she started saying we had some challenges instead of just keeping it real and saying, I'm with a fool. Can somebody please help me? So instead of her doing that, she says that they've had some challenges. He's like, oh, I concur. I'm like, oh my God. He said he got some disturbing news. And she's like, don't use that. Use another word. And so he's like, well, I got some surprising news. I'm like, Paige, you're so sweet, honey. The boy is calling his unborn child disturbing. Okay? And that is who y'all want? That's what y'all think makes sense? Okay, girl, go off, sis. So then Paige says, so then he tells everybody in the group that he got a call that his ex-fiance was pregnant. Child, I went to Clara and her chin, honey. She was like, oh my God, I would have been gone on the first thing smoking. She's like, Paige has Stockholm syndrome. Child, I'm not gonna let Clara word me. I am not about to let Clara word me. Honey, please. Then Chris got mad because people were only supporting Paige. Honey, Paige has not done anything to you. They are supposed to support her. Ain't nobody gonna be patting you on the back and rubbing your backs. Are you okay about the new baby that's coming? Nobody has to support you. They just have to support her. Boy, it is something wrong with you. How dare you be that selfish that you are upset that they are saying. He was like, well, everybody looks so happy and everybody's supporting Paige, but nobody really said anything about me. Oh my God, child. Okay. Oh Lord, honey. So then Chris gets up and leaves without a word. So Paige sitting there looking tense. She's uncomfortable as all get out. So then he says he's upset that everyone is happy. And then, child, they pan down to them shoes, honey. And all I can see is those big bozo shoes for a bozo, okay? With them hot pink laces. I want to reiterate, honey. Chris, you're different, since we like to use the word different. And I don't know what woman on God's green earth, unless a computer picked them for you, would even look at you. You're emotionally unstable. You're mentally unstable. You're childish. And you wear pink shoelaces. Child, let's move on. So Bree Bree asks Paige if she's okay. She says God is writing her story. And a girl, all right. Then she leaves to go find Chris. Why she's still running behind Chris, I don't know. Then she asks him what's wrong. He's comparing their relationship to the other couples. And she's like, stop doing that. We're doing our thing our way. We're having our challenges and things are uncomfortable, but it's okay. Child, and here come Virginia and Eric, child. Clara asks about what's the best thing about being married. And Paige was like, say what now? And she's like, what's the best thing about being married? Child, Paige sunk back into that seat so good. Like, girl, don't come over here with that question. Child, Clara, you always trying to interview somebody, honey. Girl, Barbara Walters, don't interview me, honey. I don't have no answers for you. I'm trying to go get him in his shoelaces and make sure he don't hang himself in the restroom, honey, because he don't want to be with me. Like, leave me alone with the questions. So then she goes over to Eric, and Eric says, well, I love it. We're doing great. We haven't had a problem at all yet. Again, it's been 72 hours, honey. Okay, so everybody's like, well, it's only been 3 days. I mean, because we're all thinking the same thing at this point. So then Chris and Paige's body language is terrible. They're so far apart, figuratively and literally. Like, they might as well be sitting on one end of the couch each. So then Eric looks at Chris and he said, what's up, Chris? Chris immediately gets defensive. At least he asking about you, little ugly, because he didn't have to ask you nothing, because you wasn't saying nothing. So he could have just act like you wasn't even there. So Chris was like, should I tell him? Whispering. And she's like, yeah, go on, tell him. So then he says, well, my ex is pregnant. Virginia, honey, because you know she done had 17 shots before she left the room. I'm surprised he didn't have to carry her to come have the little sit down with the couples. Is it yours? I mean, I feel like that's a valid question. Is it yours? Because I mean, you claim you was, away from her for up teen amount of months. So now she just show up pregnant mysteriously the 2 or 3 days after you get married. Okay, boy. So he looking at her like he Ike Turner. I said, oh, he is upset. Then she asked, she's like, well, we're here to support you. Then she asked Paige a question. Chris was like, you know what? Out of respect, I know y'all are trying to be here for Paige and everything, but out of respect for us, I just prefer that we can just change the subject. Virginia like, no, I ain't changing no subject, honey. I'll let everybody know I'm 26 years old and I get drunk for a living. I'm going to say what I'm going to say and I'm going to speak my speech. So Virginia goes, well, y'all have 9 months to make things work. Girl. Oh, Virginia's so embarrassing, honey. And I mean, she done loosened Eric up a little bit because Eric was like, speak your speech, baby. Speak your speech. So then she's leaning in and Chris was like, so just respect us. Respect our privacy. And Eric was like, well, we're here if you need us. Chris still having a tantrum, burning up on the inside because he wants to be with that ex. Paige, let that man go. Respectfully, okay? I'm trying not to be mean to you because I really think you just don't know. And at this point, because everybody was putting low self-esteem on you, and I'm trying not to do that. But clearly, you do have low self-esteem. Cut it out, okay? Cut it out. Cut your losses, honey. Baby, if this was me, I would be gone, honey. Call me, beat me if you want to reach me. Because I'm not about to be sitting around waiting on Chris to continue with this, honey. Call me Kim Possible. Like, what? Like, I don't understand why you still sitting here trying with this man. So as we see the preview for next episode, he starts saying, I don't want no other man to raise my baby. Oh, but let me tell you, before that part, when they were panning over to them pink laces, he goes, I feel stuck. I knew it. Of course you feel stuck. I've been saying that for 3 consecutive reviews. You feel stuck with Paige and she won't go. Honey, she worse than that Gorilla Glue that girl put on her head. Like, girl, stop bonding yourself to this man. He don't want to be bonded to. Honey, I'm going to start calling you little Gorilla Glue. Like, girl, goodbye. So on the next episode, child, he just breaks down and tell her, honey, I don't want nobody else raising my kids. I still love her. Okay, and scene. Paige standing there folding clothes. She gonna still stick around, child. So she ain't gonna do nothing, honey. She just be talking. But anyway, that was my review for tonight's episode of Married at First Sight, episode 5. If in fact Chris and Paige do go home, the other couples are gonna give me something, but they ain't gonna give me what I need to get my engine going like Chris and Paige, honey. So Chris and Paige, if you're going to stick in there like that Gorilla Glue that's bonded to that girl's head, then go ahead and do that, child, because that makes my reviews that much better. But if you decide to get some self-esteem about yourself and hold yourself up like you should, I would appreciate that as well. All right, y'all. I didn't get a chance to do my subscribe, like, comment down below, so I will do that now. Please share this video with a friend or somebody that you know. And don't hesitate to go over to my Instagram and Twitter. I'm trying to build those followings as well. As always, stay safe, stay blessed, spread love, not germs. Peace.